In this video we are gonna demonstrate how to configure the European Maritime Single Window prototype for the test happening on May 2018. The first thing we're gonna show is the link to all the relevant documentation of the project. So it forwards to the part of EMSA's website containing the video tutorials and also the technical documentation. Let's go back to the prototype, and we are going to enter to demonstrate the configuration with a national administrator, which in this case belongs to Spain. All the credentials for these national administrators will be provided on the first day of the test. When you enter, you see the configuration management console with all the things that you can handle. However, formalities, it is something that we have left it aside for this test, so it's better not to configure. In order to demonstrate the configuration, I'm gonna do it starting with creating an area. Areas are simply a list of ports, so it can be useful for situations where a user wants to handle all the list of ports of each region, for example. So let's create an area which is going to be called area test. It's going to be a test area for demonstration. And we're going to assign these to random cities. By default, all the low codes that appear are those that belongs to Spain. So that's why you have 4,500 entries in this case. In case the administrator belongs to a different country, different cities will be shown. You click on save and you get the message that the area has been created successfully. And I wanted to create an area to show how you can use it when creating organizations. So organizations, I'm gonna demonstrate here. Test organization 1. You can provide a phone, fax or email. Let's put random numbers and details. The country is predefined for Spain in this case, as the administrator belongs to Spain. The profiles are going to be defined by EMSA, and the profiles define if the user is going to be, or if all the users from this organization are going to be SIP data providers, or if they're going to be authorities. And if they're going to be SIP data providers for all the submission types, for just one part, and the same for authorities. So we have created here several profiles. So in this case we have here, for example, generic providers, which can provide all submission types. We can also have we have defined port authorities who handle all submission types and decide on all submission types, and also authorities which, for example, decide only on MDH attachment in this case, or in crew and passenger list. So this will be border control authority. In this case, let's create one border control authority that will handle. You can set an organization which handles the whole country, so all Spain, just one port. So we can enter the name of the port that we want, or you can enter as well a low code. And you can also set the geographical restriction to an area. So we're gonna, in this case, set that the list that we have just created, the area, will be the geographical restriction for this organization. Once done, click save. And the third thing that we're gonna show is how to create a user that will have belonging to the organization that we have just created. So click on create user, provide an border control 1 will be our unique ID that has to have caps, small caps, and numbers and symbols. We can provide a password and confirm the password. The given name and family name are not mandatory. The enable checkbox is active by default, and it means that the user will be active and will be playing with the prototype. If this is unchecked, means that the user will be disabled and therefore deleted, and so unable to play with the prototype. You can also set up a date until when the user will be active. So in this case, this user will be active only for the next week. Preferred interface will be web. Country is predefined, and then we provide the contact info that will then appear in the prototype. If this checkbox is active, it means that this user will receive notifications. As we are defining an organization which was an authority, means that a clearance request for which this user has competence will generate a notification by mail. In case this user will be a SIP data provider, it will receive notifications when a decision has been taken on a clearance request that the user has submitted. So once we are done, we click Save, and the user is created. And the last thing I'm going to show is how to manage the regulatory information. The regulatory information is all the data elements that the prototype has, and if, for example, in your country you don't handle some kind of information, you can deactivate it. However, you cannot deactivate compulsory information. So, for example, the SIP identification will be deactivated because you have to handle it. In addition, you have all the details of each of the data elements, so the name, the definition, the occurrence, if they're mandatory or not, and if they're happening for arrival, departures, or both. And that's it for the configuration of the two prototypes for the technical contact points.